All right, good people, it is Friday, June 7th, 2024. We are live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and Locals. Share, subscribe, tap that notification bell if you have not. And since it is a Friday today, and I was out earlier in the week, we are doing a little bit of a catch-up on this Friday. We will bring the Friday Roundtable Extravaganza back next week. We're going to do a little bit on the death of Hollywood, the death of late-night quote-unquote comedy, the death of justice. It's a death show for the weekend, okay? That's what we're doing today. And then, of course, we have Rubin Report .locals.com community Q&A. You're going to dig it. We got some good clips. And yes, some of it involves whether Joe Biden pooped in his pants, because that was the big trend on the internet yesterday. And honestly, I don't know. And the fact that I don't know really tells you all you need to know. Let's talk about preserved gold, and then we'll dive right in. Guys, a new central bank digital currency is coming and could replace your dollars with digital currency. With it could come surveillance of our lives, freezing of our assets, and government control over our bank accounts and how we spend our money. Americans who want to protect their liberty and privacy need to prepare themselves for what's to come. That's why many Americans are turning to physical gold and silver to diversify their wealth. If you want to help protect your retirement, I recommend you request your free investment guide from my friends at Preserve Gold today. They'll explore the right options for you and will help you with the process to have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or inside your IRA, 401k, or other qualified retirement account. And they make it easy. They're BBB accredited with 0 consumer complaints and hundreds of satisfied clients. They're also a founding member of the Precious Metals Association, so you know you're in good hands. And as an exclusive offer for Rubin Report viewers, they'll give you up to $10,000 in gold and silver with a qualifying purchase or retirement account rollover. They'll even throw in an immediate $500 account credit if you request your investor guide today. So don't wait. Visit preservegold.com/Dave today to get your free gold and silver investment guide and take the first step towards helping protect your wealth. Again, that's preservegold.com/Dave to get your free guide from the good people at Preserve Gold. And now back to me. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the death of Hollywood. Hollywood used to pump out great stories, great movies, great TV shows. Now, I know there's a couple things out now that are pretty good. A lot of people like Dune 2. I've already fallen asleep 3 times trying to get through the first half hour. I did really like Fallout, which is on Amazon Prime right now. But largely, Hollywood is drying up, and it's drying up directly because of wokeness. Because once, as an artist or as a writer or as a creator, an actor, etc., once you start caring about skin color and gender and everything else more than the art for art's sake, you are going to degrade the project. And that has happened across Hollywood. And sadly, one of the things that it affected was the thing that really created all of my childhood dreams and captured generations of Americans. Yes, I am talking about Star Wars, which ultimately was handed to Disney. Need I say more? So actress Amandla Stenberg, she's now the lead actress in the new Star Wars show Acolyte, which is on Disney+. Check this out. This is her back in 2018 talking about another program that she was on and what really drives her to make art.
When people watch The Hate U Give, what do you want them to walk away with? Because I know everyone has a slightly different feeling.
Well, I mean, white people crying actually was the goal. It was the goal.
Okay, so imagine, guys, if a white actor went on a show with a white host and said that the purpose of the show that they created was so that black people would cry. There would be cities burning. Now, that was before she was cast in The Acolyte, the new Star Wars series, right? So that's from about 6 years ago. So she puts that nonsense out there, sitting by a woke TV host who, again, is now not even the host of that show anymore. But then, of course, years go by and she gets a gig on this new Star Wars Acolyte show. And from what I'm hearing, it is quite woke. And it turns out that some of the people who work on the show don't even know the basics of Star Wars 101. See if you catch what happens right here.
I did get in trouble for this answer at Star Wars Con. I got heat.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's so funny to me because it literally, as a person who's outside and just a fan coming in, that was what was so beautiful and interesting to me. You know, people have been talking to me online about how Darth Vader is such a bad person. It's very clear, and it's very well established from those actions. But if you can't look and see that Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this right now.
You should just shut up.
Anakin did not blow up the Death Star, you dingbat. Anakin is Darth Vader, who was trying to stop Luke from blowing up the Death Star, which he did in A New Hope. That was the first Star Wars movie. Perhaps, if I was trying to be as generous with you as possible, you're talking about Anakin blowing up the Separatist droid ship in A Phantom Menace, but they don't even know the basics. It's actually perfect, right? Because they've ruined everything about Star Wars, and then they don't even know exactly what they are ruining. It is just absolutely perfect. But let's shift a little bit. It's not just Star Wars they've ruined. They've ruined late night comedy. We already showed you a clip of Trevor Noah. I think you guys know my feelings about Stephen Colbert and some of these other guys. But Kamala Harris, who I suppose by the time I finish this sentence could be president if he poops in his pants again or falls down the stairs. She went on Jimmy Kimmel's quote unquote comedy show, and she got heckled a bit by the Hamas people, who are often fans of late night comedy or something. I don't know.
Stop the genocide! 15,000 children died because of you! Stop the genocide! You're a murderer! 15,000 children died! She has her phone. Kamala Harris! It's good to have you back. Thank you. Stop. Not thinking. He's like, no one said he saw.
You're interrupting my flow. All right. Anybody else? If anyone else has anything to say, this is the time.
1.9 million people.
Hey, stand up, stand up.
Give me my ID. How dare you! Hey! Bro, this is psycho. Sure, come here. Let us out! You pause us out. Class traitors! Class traitors! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
Guys, I got to tell you, you throw a laugh track on that thing, Connor, we should have had you done that. You throw a laugh track on that thing, that is funnier than anything Jimmy Kimmel has done in 20 years. You know, they all deserve it. Jimmy, you deserve the hecklers for everything you've brought into society via quote-unquote comedy. Kamala, you deserve it because you placate to these progressive lunatics. So you're a class traitor and you're a genocider and everything else. These people are just completely ridiculous. And speaking of ridiculous, if you want to hear something ridiculous, here's Kamala Harris on how government works.
Well, in our history, look at the Dred Scott decision. This is not the first time that we know the court can make decisions that violate the civil rights of the people. But this is when we have to praise the fact that we still have an intact democracy with three co-equal branches of government. So what the Supreme Court took away, Congress can put back in place. And that's where the people come in with your right to then elect the people in the United States Congress who will fight and protect your freedom.
No, that's not exactly right. Like, you're kind of right about the three equal branches of government. That's how it's supposed to be. But see, the way it's supposed to work and that it generally has worked is you have the legislative branch, that's Congress and the Senate lady. They write the laws, right? Then the president signs them into law. He's the executive. He's the chief executive of the executive branch. And then the judicial branch, you're not going to guess what they do. They look at the legality of all of this as it pertains to standing law, and they decide if these things are legal. So if the Supreme Court says something is illegal, meaning it's not in the founding documents, there's no laws to defend it. So for example, a good example of this one would be the reversal of Roe v. Wade. Doesn't matter what you think about abortion, there was no constitutionally guaranteed right to abortion in the Constitution. The states then can't pass another law to override the judiciary. Yes, we can have some play back and forth, but the woman is just a complete idiot. And when she talks about the strength of the three branches and the equal, the checks and balances, I don't even know if she knows that term, but the whole point was checks and balances, right? So no branch becomes too powerful. We now have an administration that loves it when they are able to go against the judicial branch, right? When the judicial branch said, oh, you can't wipe out student debt, Biden just gets up there and says, we're wiping out student debt. Hopefully this will get hung up in the courts and reversed and all that, because I don't think that if you got $300,000 into debt to go to Columbia to learn how to be a terrorist, that somebody else's kid should have to pay for that. Anyway, here is Stephen Colbert celebrating the Trump conviction, because comedy ain't what it used to be.
Hey, public, what do you all think of Trump going to jail? Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I didn't say lock him up. The people said lock him up.
That's comedy right there. You know how I always say that it's like they just like throw them little fish and then they swallow them down. Whoop, whoop, whoop. That was like the best example of that, right? Like all of you, first off, if we're to believe that virtually everyone in that audience was just chanting lock him up, so congratulations, Stephen Colbert. You have the most groupthink audience in the history of the world, which as a performer, you know, Bill Maher actually often scolds his audience or says to them, why are you applauding that? Why are you booing that? Like trying to figure out, oh, they're not always on my side as it pertains to everything. But if you just want to give red meat to the base all the time, then congratulations, you have done it. We have a little bit more from the mainstreamers. Yeah, we're going to show you Sonny Hostin in just a second, but it doesn't involve Joy Behar leaking. Hallelujah. But let me talk to you guys about Get Liver Help. Guys, in these challenging times, it's more important than ever to prioritize our health and the health of our loved ones. But there's a hidden threat that's been quietly affecting millions of hardworking folks just like you, a sluggish and overworked liver. Just like how our traditional values are under attack, your liver is constantly assaulted by GMOs, microplastics, toxins, fluoride, and all the stuff that you might not even know about. It's time you take action. That's where Pure Health Research comes in and their groundbreaking supplement, Liver Health Formula. The natural ingredients and nutrients in the formula are designed to support your liver's natural detoxification processes for head-to-toe revitalization, shed of unwanted pounds, and maintain an enjoyable, active lifestyle. Liver Health Formula is made using only the highest quality, carefully selected ingredients. It has 11 powerful, clinically proven ingredients to detoxify and rejuvenate your liver at the cellular level. As a special offer for my listeners, you can try Liver Health Formula and get a free 1-month supply of nano-powered omega-3 to support your heart health as well. This is an exclusive offer for my audience. Visit getliverhelp.com/Rubin right now to claim your exclusive gift and take a proactive step towards a healthier, more vibrant you. That's getliverhelp.com/Rubin. And now back to me. So, okay, if Stephen Colbert leading a chant while he's pretending not to lead a chant of lock him up and send Donald Trump to jail, and congratulations, Stephen, if you think anything will be better, because Orange Man, what are you going to do? You're going to put Orange Man in jail? You're not going to be able to tell jokes about anything anymore if he's not out there, you fool. Even for your own self-preservation, you don't want him to go to jail. But okay, fine, you don't see it yet. If that's not enough for you, here is Sonny Hostin, lawyer. This woman was a lawyer. Sonny Hostin, hoping that Trump goes to Rikers Island.
Judge Merchan has, I think he has really done a good job in terms of keeping that courtroom together. Yes. I spent this morning speaking to someone from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. They're called street fighters. He believes that they will recommend a 1-year term in prison. And that is because when you spend a year in prison in New York or under, you serve in Rikers Island. Okay? Also, I did some research. Right. The other thing I'd like to say is the other reason that they will do this is because he has shown an utter disregard for our institutions. Yes. And prosecutors, when you are recommending a sentence, you are not just recommending a sentence so that they can be rehabilitated or so that they can be punished. You're sending a message to the community that this is not going to happen again. This is not okay. The other thing I want to say is that there's another thing that they will likely recommend is a 6-month split. 6 months at Rikers, and then the rest, 5 years, 4.5 years of probation.
I say it all the time, and I stand by it. I think she's the most unlikable person on television. The way she smiles both those times where she says Rikers, and she's kind of, And she's like guilty while Rikers. She's guilty because she knows it's wrong. She knows it's she knows it's evil what she is doing. She's a lawyer. She knows that an accountant who just wrote legal expense on a ledger as it pertained to the payoff to the porn star, which you're allowed to do. And that's not what he's in trouble for. What he's in trouble for is they're claiming that payoff was in direct violation of campaign finance laws, right? That's what they're getting him. She knows that is complete and utter nonsense. And she knows it, and that's why she looks guilty as she's saying it. It's just absolutely disgusting. And by the way, there's very few legal experts even showing up on MSNBC. Yes, there's a bunch of pundits who are happy about it, but there's very few legal experts. Please show me some if you can find them, and I'll gladly have them on the show, who are saying that this was the right decision, that this makes sense, that there was precedent for this, or that any of it is something that has been done before or that should be done again. There's very few people like that. And the pundit class that's defending the decisions ain't doing such a great job, by the way. My buddy Michael Knowles went on Piers Morgan and got into it with a leftist who was trying to defend the Trump conviction.
My fellow panelist here is celebrating that the rule of law has been vindicated and overturned 234 years of American legal tradition. I would challenge her to see if she could possibly articulate how and what crime Trump committed, because so far Alvin Bragg, the DA, has failed to do so. The judge in the case, Judge Merchan, has failed to do so. And they can't do it because Trump didn't commit any of the crimes for which he's been convicted.
Well, let's just ask quickly before I go to Kevin. Francesca, just on that point, what crime did Trump commit?
It was financial crimes. It was white collar crimes. That is exactly what they charged him. He was convicted on.
What was the crime?
It's New York State law.
I understand. What was the crime?
It is New.
Francesca,
I don't even like it. It is
hang on, Mark,
he just got convicted on 34 counts.
Francesca, what was the crime?
Of like cooking the actual books.
What was the crime?
You are not allowed. So you are not allowed to use your own financial, like your own money, to pay off somebody, and then he logged it as something different. He logged it as just a regular payment, but he was actually paying off this porn star to keep quiet, which, if he hadn't been running for president, would not have mattered, but he was, and so it impacted campaign finance laws in New York State. Okay, that is what Juan Merchan just oversaw this.
Okay.
Alvin Bragg brought these charges because Michael Cohen, his sister, was already sentenced to 3 years to do it.
Okay, let's just go before Kevin. I'll be very, very, very patient. We'll come to you.
Look, I'm no expert. Let me just say, hang on,
Michael.
You are no expert. That's right, because the campaign finance law is a federal law.
Yeah, lady, we are agreed on one thing. You are no expert. First off, she explains this whole thing, and then the way that Mark Garagos, he's the lawyer in the middle, got really famous during the O.J. Simpson thing. And then, of course, there's Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, and then Knowles and Piers. The way they all laugh when she tries to give this explanation, because again, she even knows it's absurd that a payout, I'm going to have to say it more than one more time throughout my career, but a payout to a porn star that was listed on a ledger as a legal expense, which it is, that they are claiming in turn, because he was running for president, had something to do with illegal campaign finance. He might have paid her off having nothing to do with running for president. He banged a porn star. Okay, zippity dippity. Anyone in this room bang a porn star? You both look guilty. Come on. Anyway, you get the point. It's just these people fold, and just imagine whoever that ridiculous girl is. If this was reversed and they were getting a Democrat on this, she would be saying all of the reverse things. Anyway, just a little bit more, and then we'll get to the community Q&A. Here is James Comey. He's back, baby. Basically saying that Trump really wants a jail sentence, and that Merchan, the judge who's going to issue whatever the sentencing is on July 11th, should probably send a message.
Donald Trump, since, I've last seen you on CNN, has now become the first former president to become a convicted felon. You predicted before the verdict came down, as the jury was still deliberating, as the case was still being presented, that he could potentially be convicted. Do you believe it's likely that the judge will sentence him to jail in this situation?
I don't know. I would ordinarily say it's unlikely in a white-collar offense of this sort, but this is a defendant who's begging for a jail term by taking a flamethrower not just to the judge, but to the entire process and the jury. a judge will take that very seriously into consideration in deciding whether to deter this person and to send a message more broadly. He needs to spend some time behind bars.
God, it's all so disgusting when you really think about how corrupt Joe Biden is and everything involving the Hunter Biden laptop and everything else. The idea that Donald Trump could potentially, and my guess is if I was a betting man right now, unfortunately, the way the entropy of all of this is going is that he is going to be sent to jail for some period of time. It is my guess. I don't know that I've ever hoped I was wrong on this show. I've been wrong on the show before, but I would say I don't know that I've ever hoped to be wrong more than right now. Because it will send this country into such a state of flux. It will just so upend the chessboard. The pieces will be flying all over the place and all the bad guys will be getting strengthened, and that will not be good at all. And the reason for that is we seemingly no longer are a country of law and order. We are no longer a country that abides by those three branches of government and does something about the deep corruption. But there are some places that do that. Actually, the place that I mention most when you talk about cleaning things up properly is El Salvador. And I think you might enjoy this little bit. This is President Nayib Bukele, who's now the two-term president of El Salvador, who took a country that was the #1 country in terms of murders in the world, and now it is basically the safest country in all of the West. And here he is talking about the lawfare against Donald Trump.
There was a way to stop the candidacy, then he's probably in trouble. But if there's no way to stop him from competing in the election, all the things that they do to him will just give him more votes, right?
That seems to be happening.
Yes, I mean, either you stop the candidacy or you let him be. But just, hitting him you're making the greatest campaign ever. I mean.
Do you think they know that?
Some of them, I think some of them do, but of course the ones that don't, or they think that, that's the problem with endogamous groups, right? Because they all, we're so great, let's do it. And, they're making a huge mistake.
That's what we have to hope, that they are making a huge mistake, that they are waking up a sleeping giant, that more people on the fence who never were going to vote for Trump, or who maybe were going to sit it out, or just weren't enthused, or whatever it might be, will suddenly be like, actually, the Democrats kind of suck, and maybe I wasn't loving Trump, but we have to stop this. As I said on the show yesterday, from that video that I played from Megyn Kelly a couple days before, even if you believe the porn star payout had something to do with campaign finance, even if you believe all of that to be true, and I really am having trouble finding anyone that actually will go on the record saying that, but even if you believe it all to be true, if you think that right now we're about 5 weeks away from the Republican convention where they're about to nominate Donald Trump to be the nominee for president for the Republicans candidate, if you think that if we throw him in jail before then, that somehow that will lead to a better America, you're really, really confused, because it will make things so much worse. If you are a Democrat, if you are a Biden supporter, if you are progressive, have the fight for real. But they're really good about not having the real fight, right? So they're doing everything they can. And again, if they only had a mirror, they might realize that they're the actual bad guy in the situation. All right, we're going to get to a community Q&A in just a second, but let me talk to you guys about Base Spike Detox Trio. Guys, AstraZeneca recently admitted in court that its COVID-19 vaccine could result in life-threatening blood clots. The Daily Mail reported that AstraZeneca acknowledged in a legal document submitted to the High Court in February that its vaccine can, in very rare cases, cause TTS. TTS is short for thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, a medical condition where a person suffers blood clots along with low platelet count. This admission by AstraZeneca is the first of its kind and won't be the last after the damage we've seen these vaccines cause. The question now is, if you got the vaccine, what can you do about it? Fortunately, Dr. Peter McCullough and his team at the Wellness Company have been leading experts in treating vaccine injury and long COVID since early on, and their research has shown that nattokinase, along with bromelain and curcumin derived from turmeric, has great potential in detoxing side effects. Dr. McCullough notes that out of all of the available therapies I have used in my practice, I believe nattokinase and related peptides hold the greatest promise for patients at this time. This groundbreaking discovery led to the formulation of the wellness company's Spike Support Formula, which contains nattokinase. And Dr. McCullough's published base spike detox protocol combines powerful nattokinase, bromelain, and curcumin with incredible results in the patient population. To date, tens of thousands of people have followed Dr. McCullough's protocol and taken base spike trio from the wellness company, and the results have been nothing short of miraculous. The testimonies on the website speak for themselves. Purchasing each ingredient in Spike Support Formula is pricey, but with the wellness company's unique formulation, you save 35%. In Dr. McCullough's own words, isn't it interesting, natural substances to combat this man-made disaster? And it is interesting. A man-made virus and a man-made vaccine both wreaking havoc on an unassuming population. But finally, there's hope. Base Spike Pro Detox Trio is the gold standard for combating spike protein, a daily regimen to help you get back to feeling your best. Reclaim your health by going to twc.health/Rubin. Use code Rubin for 15% off and get free shipping. And now back to me. All right, let's jump into some questions. Aaron says, hey Dave, I've grown up in music and the arts, but I have never been much of a sports fan. When I have watched sports, it's mainly been football and maybe a little baseball, which I've enjoyed at a casual level. I've never enjoyed watching basketball or even understood anything about the game. If I see a pro basketball game on TV, I'll change the channel to something different because it just looks like a bunch of people are running around on a court. Can you help this basketball agnostic understand what it is you love about the game and why it's so popular? I'm honestly curious because I just don't get it. What I love most about basketball is when a white straight girl who is the greatest female basketball player of all time, when she gets mauled on the court by a black woman who may or may not be a lesbian in honor of gay pride. That's what I love about basketball. You guys know what I'm talking about, Caitlin Clark, who got just crushed. The whole league should be bowing to her that she has had anyone paying attention to WNBA and women's basketball. But no, what I love about basketball is, and you can probably make this argument to different degrees with each sport, but basketball, there's such a sense of artistry in there, right? Because all the great players play a little bit different. Michael, and you watch them progress over the years and do things a little bit differently. So Michael Jordan, in those early years, jumping and dunking over everybody, and then in his later years became the best mid-range jump shooter. Sort of Kobe Bryant was similar to that. Larry Bird, who had an incredible game and incredible shooting game, but then also was a great passer for a big man and just had great court vision. Magic, it was all flash with Magic Johnson, right? Like that was what the Showtime Lakers were all about. So there's a little more personal artistry than maybe in baseball, although baseball, a pitcher might have a little bit of a way of doing something a little artistic, and I just love the sweat, I love the workout. I mean, I'm playing 2-3 games a week, 3 hours a pop in this summer heat right now, and I'm just absolutely loving it. BBG says, Dave, do you think we are now living in an oligarchy? So of course, an oligarchy, well, why don't we give you the direct definition of oligarchy? A small group of people having control of a country, organization, or institution. I would say in some ways we are at the very least veering towards that. When you look at what is happening to Trump, when you look at some level of collusion between this administration and the Department of Justice and then the DAs, like that is a small group of people that are basically trying to take out their political opposition, which would lead you to an oligarchy. You could probably also make arguments that the billionaire class can buy and sell politicians left and right, and that in essence, they then run the show. And that's sort of more of the way that Russia is. They have just crazily wealthy Russian billionaires and multi-billionaires who sort of have everything and everyone else has very little. I would say the entire system was set up so that we, the people, could govern ourselves and have most people out of the way. So the more things go small and a few people, that really, when people talk about the deep state or whatever you want to call that middle management part of the thing that just always exists, that's what you want to watch out for, because that's how an oligarchy retains power. You can have plenty of people working in like these agencies, and they can work there for years and years, and they don't really have power. But if the powers that be are just a couple of people that are able to just kind of keep them there forever, that's why we never get sort of positive change, and everything always seems to just sort of tilt one way. And the only way to stop that, by the way, is to care more about your local community, your city, your state, and the rest of it, because the big thing is kind of calcified right now. Rondi says, you were really busy this weekend. What was your favorite scene or interview? And were those leather pants you wore on Gutfeld smoking? No, I did not wear leather pants on Gutfeld. They were black jeans. Gutfeld made a joke about me wearing leather or something. I was not wearing any leather. There was no leather involved, but thank you. Yes, they were just black, standard old washed out black jeans. You know, it was a great couple days in New York, despite like some of the stuff of New York. I still have some friends there. That Gutfeld episode, one of the panelists, you know, it was Kat, and then it was what's his name, Brian Kilmeade from Fox, obviously, and the other panelist was this guy Adam Hunter, who I started doing stand-up with back in 1998, handing out tickets in Times Square. I've told you guys about that before. And we did stand-up together for like 14 years in New York, something like that. And then we just haven't seen each other in probably a good 10 years. It could even be more than that. We'll text every now and again. So it was just great to see him and connect. And we had a nice little back and forth on the show. So that was great. So Gutfeld was great. You know, Megan, to me, I just doing her show for 2 hours. I just adore her so much. And she's so damn good at what she does. And she's true and pure and right in her head, and like she's doing it for the right reasons. She doesn't need to do it for money. She's got more money than you can imagine. So I just absolutely adore her. I really enjoyed all the hits. It was a whole bunch of different hits and wandering around the city. I did have a slice of pizza, had a slice of New York City pizza. And then we did one surprise interview that I've been sworn to silence, but let's just say it was with someone at their apartment in New York City for about 2 hours. Let's just say it was someone who I have not been too kind to on this show over the years. And it was the first time we met, and we sat down and we tried to hash it out. And I think it'll be out in about 2 weeks. Sounds about right, about 2 weeks. So I've been sworn to secrecy though, so stay tuned. Libby says, what advice do you have for getting involved at the local level? I moved my family to Tennessee last year, and I see some of the things that happened in Colorado over 20 years happening here. I just want to shake people who don't seem to think their red state can flip. Colorado was deep red when I was growing up, and in 20 years, it's deeply blue and honestly not salvageable. I love my new home and want to fight to keep it sane. Look, the simplest thing you can do, I say this all the time, but the simplest thing you can do is meet your neighbors. Go meet your neighbors. Even today, there was a guy, we were walking the dog. There was a guy out there doing some landscaping out front. I just started talking to him about landscaping. Like, just meet your neighbors. And then when you meet your neighbors, you could also, one of the things that I did when we got here, I wanted to meet the local police chief. I met the local mayor, and not because I'm a public person. I was just like, I want to know some of the people involved in this community. I want to know what's going on. You could go to some town hearings there. But I think the best thing that you can do, also, I make sure to tell everybody I freaking meet here, is like, I tell them, look, I came from LA, but I am not here to change things. I am here to strengthen things. You deserve credit for it. And you know, if you see some trash in your neighborhood, pick it up. When we're walking the dog, David will literally be picking up trash and putting it in the dog poop bags, because you should have some skin in the game in your community. Of course, the other big thing for your community, go to school board meetings, find out what your kids are learning. But if you're seeing those signs there, that means they're real. You know what those signs are. You just said you lived through it in Cali. Get just one way or another. I just think knowing people, to me, just knowing people first. Find something. Every Sunday we go to the farmer's market here. You start then knowing, oh, well, this person lives over there. Oh, that woman who I buy the salad dressing from, I see her, you know, when I go to this restaurant. And it just starts coming together, and then it can sort of break some of the ice as it pertains to the political stuff. Vinay says, please explain to me the Biden poop joke on the Gutfeld show, Dave, when you said depends. Sorry, but I'm foreign. I believe we have the clip.
Do you think he himself during it?
Well, that's something that I'm going to let Dave answer.
That wouldn't show up in the transcript for sure, unless it goes.
You know, like.
Go, Dave.
As for whether he himself, depends. So depends, for those of you that do not know, I guess this is sort of an age thing. There used to be a lot of commercials on TV for Depends. They are adult diapers. I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it wasn't Depends, but can you look up Whoopi Goldberg and diapers? I think she did Poise, maybe. That's for a female type of leakage. It's a different thing, but you get the point. So isn't that interesting? Joy Behar leaked in Costco, and I'm right? Aren't I right? Whoopi Goldberg used to leak. Poise. Yes, they're all leaking on that show. That's incredible. We do this show, no leaking. And if we did, you would know. Anyway, so depends. Yes, they're just adult diapers. So did Joe Biden poop in his pants? Depends. Because that was what they always did in the commercial. It was like, Grandpa, is everything okay? Depends, which sounds crazy. What a marketing thing. Elizabeth says, what was your favorite part of being in New York City, your original home? Were the boys super excited when you got back? Yes, well, I'll do the latter part first. When I got home, they're getting a little older now, so like when I walked in the door, Justin just ran at me, Dad, and he almost knocked me over, huge hug. Luke ran at me too, and then he stopped right before he got to me, and he kind of looked at me, and then he smiled, then a hug, then we did a little group hug. So yes, it's great to see that, if I go away now for a couple of days, like there's more cognition of, I know that guy, he's pretty cool. And then what was my favorite part of New York City? Well, after the Gutfeld show, I had a great dinner with that guy, Adam Hunter, who I just mentioned, who was in that Gutfeld clip right there, and two other buddies of mine from my old stand-up days, Bob Juergens, who was just one of the greatest comics I ever knew and one of the funniest guys that I know, and my buddy Andrew Tavani, who I did a lot of work with and stand-up with over the years, and then took my team out as well, and just had some great steak and, just reminisced, and a little bit of tequila that evening, would that be fair to say? And a little bit of tequila. Kerry says, Trump sent VP vetting paperwork to Doug Burgum, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, Elise Stefanik, and Ben Carson. Of those candidates, who do you think would be the best? So I'm going to take your word for that because I actually have not seen that yet. All right, I'm getting a thumbs up that is true. Can I get the full names on the prompter there again? Let's just go through each one. Doug Burgum, I mean, look, this is the guy who ran for president that nobody kind of knew who he was, but he had big eyebrows and he hurt his leg playing basketball. I respect the basketball thing. He seems actually pretty damn competent, right? Like he does seem pretty damn competent. Does it give you the energy thing that Trump loves? Probably not, but Mike Pence wasn't an energy guy. Mike Pence was, let's get the evangelicals. So there might be something there that seems kind of unlikely. Marco Rubio seems kind of interesting to me. What you're taking is like I would say, moderate conservative Republican from a highly successful state, someone that's really good when it comes to foreign affairs, who really loves the country. I mean, anytime Marco Rubio tells his family story and his personal story, I think that's really where he shines. I think it probably makes some of the more moderate Republicans who are maybe not Trump people a little more willing to come over. So I think that one maybe could work. We'll see. J.D. Vance. Look, J.D. Vance from Ohio. I've had him on the show a bunch of times. I like him. I think he's been quite good, especially as it pertains to the media. But you're just going to the base again. And the whole point is Trump needs to expand the base. So I could see J.D. being involved in the administration for sure, helping Trump accomplish some of the things. But if the idea is that a VP can maybe move the needle a little bit for either the disaffected Dems that are on the way or the sort of Trump deranged people that now hate the Democrats also and are willing to make a move, I don't see how J.D. solves that. Tim Scott, I would say, is very similar to the Marco Rubio thing. He's kind of a little bit more of a generic Republican, but strikes everybody as kind of a decent guy, and he's been a pretty good senator. And, there is the racial component to it. It is what it is. That probably doesn't hurt. And actually, that goes for the next guy, too, Byron Donalds. Byron, I like a lot. He is a congressman down here in Southwest Florida, actually. I think he's really, really good. He knows he's really high energy. He knows when to pick fights. He could really be the dark horse here. Let me put him on the dark horse list. He's young. How old is he? I think he's younger than me, probably. I'm guessing he's in his late 30s, maybe mid 30s. How old is that guy? I'm going to guess 36. He's what? 45. Man, black don't crack. He's 45 years old. He'll be all right. Elise Stefanik, I think that's possible too. Also, she's from New York, so then that maybe if New York is actually in play, she's really shined over the last couple months with some of those congressional hearings. Ben Carson, it seems like a little bit like that was kind of yesterday, probably not. As you know, the other names that I've been talking about as it pertains to all of this, the real one would be Tulsi. If you want to go and get some of those ex-Dems, I think that's the way to go. But according to what I'm reading here, that's not on the list. But you just freaking never know. If you ever watch The Celebrity Apprentice, you simply do not know what Trump is going to do. And if anyone is telling you that they know, they don't. They're lying. That's it. Talway says, I know you're a big fan of both Frank Sinatra and Jerry Seinfeld, as I found out recently that Frank Sinatra died on the same day that Seinfeld finale occurred, May 14th, 1998. How do you feel about two of your favorite things ending on the same day? I had no idea. I did not know that. I definitely remember the day that Sinatra died. I was very sad that day, and I guess I definitely watched the Seinfeld finale live too, so I don't know how I didn't put that together ever. That is a day that will live in infamy. All right, we got one or two more questions, but let me talk to you guys about Contagion Kit first. Guys, on April 23rd, media outlets began to flood headlines with the latest avian flu development. The FDA said it had detected viral particles of H5N1 avian influenza in milk purchased at grocery stores. While the FDA cautioned that they believe the milk is still safe to drink, others are sounding the alarm. According to news reports, the dissemination to cows is far greater than we have been led to believe, Topol said in an email Tuesday. The chief medical board of the wellness company has been closely watching the avian flu outbreak in the U.S. over the last couple weeks, and while it is far from certain that this most recent strand of bird flu will result in a pandemic, we know that the medical tyrants are never going to be done with us. And with scientists still saying that this bird flu strain could be 100 times worse than COVID, and knowing it's an election year, Americans are now more than ever need to be prepared. Do you know what your family needs this time around? Because most doctors still won't even consider prescribing ivermectin or HCQ, but we've got you covered. Keep listening. The only of its kind, the prescription contagion emergency kit from the wellness company provides you with a carefully selected assortment of effective medications for bird flu, COVID-19, and other respiratory illnesses. Ivermectin, HCQ, Z-Pak, Tamiflu, Buzetazine, along with a nebulizer, so you can rest easy knowing you have emergency meds on hand, along with a guidebook for safe use. Backed by research from experts like Dr. Peter McCullough, the wellness company's Contagion Kit is a must-have. Avoid the chaos, time, wait times, and price of the hospital, and have exactly what you need for as low as the cost of a single doctor's visit. At the end of the day, just having these life-saving medications on hand so you won't have to think about it is worth it in itself. Go to twc.health/Rubin and grab your Contagion emergency kit right now. twc.health/Rubin. Code Rubin saves you $45 at checkout. Kits available only in the US of A. And now back to me. All right, just a couple more questions here. Samantha says, Dear Dave, are you planning on having a regular collaboration of some sort with Erin Wexler? So Erin, we've played a couple of videos of her. She's huge on Instagram, non-lib take. She's guest hosted the show once, and then I've done a couple other things with her. I think she's great. She's smart. She's funny. She gets it. We have had some discussions. I will leave it at that for now. Amy says, is there a band or performer or actor that you like but has been so vocally leftist that you have sacrificed listening to them or watching shows/movies they're in? And you can't say Robert De Niro. So of course that was, when I quickly glanced at the questions, that of course De Niro was the first one that popped up. But I want to give you a positive spin on one, because you may remember this moment. This was the height of COVID from someone that I have loved my whole life, all the movies that he has ever done. Loved him as a public figure. I think he's been great for America. He really dropped the ball during COVID. And right after this, I thought maybe I couldn't watch his stuff anymore. You'll remember this.
But I think people should know there is a virus here. It kills people. And the only way we prevent it is to get vaccinated, to wear masks, to do social distancing, washing your hands all the time, and not just to think about, well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No. Screw your freedom.
Oh, screw your freedom. It's tough, right? It's tough to even hear that. That's, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about getting vaxxed and wearing the mask and social distancing and washing your hands, and screw your freedom, from a guy who, at least for the 80s and 90s, represented freedom in some ways that no other American did. He always says, born in Austria, made in America. That's like his tagline for himself. And I remember at the height of COVID, when everything was so crazy, I was like, am I going to ever be able to watch a Schwarzenegger movie again? And I love Predator, and Total Recall is probably my favorite movie of all time. And even The Sixth Day, that's a lost one that people forget about. That was a great movie. Terminator, T2, T3 is pretty good. We could do Twins is good. Like, we could do Junior. They're all good. They're all good. Despite that moment with him, I've been able to get over it. So I don't know that there's like a real leftist maniac who I just can't watch anymore. I'm sure there's got to be somebody. 1592 says, do you have a date for the Locals meetup? Yes, officially, it is July 25th. Only for Locals members. It'll only be announced in Locals. If you'd like to join us in Miami, it will be the end of July. It will be hot, and it'll be right before I go off the grid, but we're looking forward to seeing you guys. We'll try to do something on the water somewhere. Chipster says, been watching Seinfeld and wondered, how do you like the outing episode where a reporter thought he and George were a couple? Two Seinfeld questions. It's a great episode. Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? Like, that's the line. The whole point, this reporter is doing a story on Jerry. Jerry and George pretend for a moment that they're gay. then the reporter thinks they're gay, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, it's a top tenner. It's a top 10 for me. And by the way, it wasn't a big deal. Like the whole point of, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's like, okay, fine, you're gay, zippity doodah. We don't have to have a fucking parade. We don't have to have a month to celebrate you or chop off your genitals or any of the other stuff. Carlton says, Dave, did you say you thought Trump would win in November? You're usually pretty spot on with predictions. Look, nobody in my business wants to be in the prediction game, but every piece of evidence would point to Donald Trump winning. The Democrats are purging. There is almost nobody outside of the MSNBC class promoting Joe Biden. We can all see what is happening to his mind. We see the lunatics of the progressives and what they have wrought on our streets and our colleges and what they have done to our kids. The Trump side, suddenly you have all of these black rappers and athletes that normally wouldn't have been Trump people going for Trump. You see now billionaire class out of Silicon Valley suddenly backing Trump. I haven't seen literally one person post conviction say I'm no longer voting for Trump. So all of the evidence points to the energy behind Trump and nothing behind Biden. But again, you don't want it to count your chickens till they hatch. And what I am worried about is it's going to be November 4th and we're all going to be like, all right, polls are looking good. Trump's having rallies. Everything's looking great. Everybody hates the Democrats. Joe Biden's a corpse. And then it'll be November 5th and they'll tell us it was 83 million votes for the old man and 74 for Trump. So it's going to be a wacky summer into the fall. Tony says, NVIDIA's new AI chip is codenamed Rubin. Is there something that Dave and the Rubin Report team isn't telling us? I did not know this. Apparently, I think do we have an image of this chip maybe? I don't know. We got a headline, at least from Ars Technica. NVIDIA jumps ahead of itself and reveals next-gen Rubin AI chips in keynote tease. All I can say is, I, for one, welcome our new robot leaders. Ava says, what do you think the leading issue will be for the 2024 election? Well, the leading issue should be immigration because, as Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream from culture. As Dave Rubin says, everything is downstream from immigration. If you care about whatever you care about, it just doesn't matter. You care about abortion, you care about taxes, you care about economics, does not matter. If we don't solve the immigration thing, if we don't know who is in this country and why they are here and what they are intending to do, then none of it matters, period. So that should be the number one thing. I think, unfortunately, the number one thing will be whether Donald Trump is on the ticket, whether he is in jail, and just the drama around all of that. On that note, Ladles and Jelly Spoons, that is our Friday show. We don't do a post game on Friday anymore. I'll explain a little bit more on that to the locals community in a separate post altogether. But I owe you guys one because we didn't get to one yesterday because of the Newsmax hit as well. So I'm well aware. I will make it up to you over the weekend with either steak or tequila or something. We'll figure it out. My full interview with Russell Brand is up absolutely ad-free at Locals. DaveRubin.store if you want to get some merch. Have a good weekend. Goodbye.